Hey guys, welcome to episode 7 of the Follow Me Show. You are here with your hosts,
Drew.
and Dee Dee of Follow Me Realty. And I know we had a little bit of a break, so today we are going to cover a lot of awesome topics for you guys, for your buyers, agents, sellers, agents, and everything in between. So let's get right to it.
Yeah, well, today more specifically, we're going to talk about how to create wealth as a realtor.
Yes, in this episode, yeah. So we're going to talk about, like Drew said, how to create wealth as a realtor and everything that comes along with it. So I'm going to be asking Drew a lot of questions as well today and kind of understand, because when it comes to the overall planning of really
I'm the man.
Yeah, he is the mastermind behind everything. As much as you guys hear me talk,
Boom.
he really is the
happy wife, happy life.
Shut up. Okay, so I'm going to ask him a lot of questions, and he's going to do most of the talking unless I interject, which I do, of course.
Basically, I'll get about 30% of the talking today.
Shut up. Let's get right to it. Okay. So how do you create wealth as a realtor, Mr. Drew?
Well, there's a lot of different facets to creating wealth as a realtor. The biggest one is you have to be perceived as an expert in your marketplace.
Yeah.
Notice I said perceived.
Okay.
Because you're not going to be a new realtor and be the expert. You're not going to have all that knowledge, but you need to be perceived as one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the biggest thing, is you have to be perceived as the expert in your marketplace.
So let's say, for instance, you really want to work with, let's just say, I don't know, you want to work with single family homes, or you think, at least when you start in real estate, you're like, okay,
For
so I want to do the standard 3-2 single family, and I want to be known as the authority within my area, zip codes or what have you. But I don't really know a damn thing about real estate just yet. So how can you be perceived in the very beginning?
Well, it's very simple. We talked about it a few episodes ago. Is you just have to be everywhere.
Okay.
So if they see you everywhere, they're going to be like, oh my God, they're everywhere. And they must be the expert. Those aren't the exact thoughts, but somewhere on the subconscious, it starts to seep in. Like, oh, wow, you're doing big things. You're doing a showing. You're doing a closing. You're tweeting all the time. You're on Snapchat. You're on Instagram.
You must know what you're talking about.
You must know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You drive a BMW, a Mercedes, even though you may have rented it. They don't have to know that.
Right.
So that's how you get perceived. It's pretty much massive action. You have to be everywhere, all the time, nonstop, 24/7.
So a lot of it, again, like we always talk about, it comes down
Image,
to
man.
social media
Social
and the
media.
image that you have, your online presence.
Exactly. And that's how you get perceived as the expert in your marketplace. You don't go away. You continue to knock on that door, and you don't stop until the market starts taking you seriously.
So like when I started, you had me, Drew basically had me touch base, or he was doing it for me, reaching out on every platform. So not just being everywhere, but also reaching out to everyone everywhere as well. So
yes, I mean, we did it through email, LinkedIn,
text message, calling, Twitter, if they have a Twitter.
Instagram.
And at the time,
Pinterest.
sometimes I was using Facebook too, because at the time I did have Facebook.
And Facebook's good if you like it, but we don't really like it, so
I think
that's
we
why
make
don't
that
promote
like
it.
abundantly clear.
Listen, if you like Facebook and you want some great content for Facebook, check out Easy Agent Pro. I don't get paid yet to say that, but I probably will in the future.
Yeah.
But Easy Agent Pro, they're great Facebook.
They talk a lot about Facebook, but any other platform, I mean, if you can find someone, it doesn't matter what it's on, if you can find them there. So if you see a buyer and you start Googling their name, you can find out a lot about them, just like they'll find out a lot about you. So you want to really connect before they even have an opportunity to start Googling you. So that way, you are relevant with them. So that's how you start to gain that perceived credibility. Okay, so what would be the second thing that you have to be doing? I mean, like, what do you feel like you have to
Well, the second one's easy.
sacrifice, I guess?
The second one's easy. You have to be willing to give up a lot in order to get a lot. And
What
what
do
I
you
mean
mean?
by that is bad habits, old habits, which we'll talk about in a little bit later. Family, friends, bad relationships. So you're going to have to give up a lot of things that you used to do. So you're not going to be hanging out with your friends anymore, going to the movies.
And it really
gossiping,
depends on what
that's
kind of friends
done.
that you have.
Yeah, I mean,
would say.
if you want to be wealthy as a realtor, that has to go. There's really no way around that. Your image has to change, and in order to do that, you're gonna have to leave a lot of those bad relationships behind. We definitely experience that with family members and friends and so on and so on.
Yeah, so of course, if you have a lot of friends that are with the, Citrus Club in downtown Orlando and they are golfing at Arnold Palmer, so that's one thing. So keep those friends.
You keep those friends.
Keep those friends.
They're affluent. They have connections, but
right.
You're talking about your typical haters. You're on Facebook. You say like maybe a motivational post, then you get all this negative shit about it.
Right.
You got to get rid of those people.
Right.
And we had those people. We've had a lot of family and friends that we don't speak to anymore because we were trying to create something. We were trying to create a brand, the Opera Realtor at the time, and people didn't want to see us in that light. They wanted to see us as Drew and Dee Dee, college people, ex-military idiots, however they wanted to look at us.
Yeah, and the thing is, again, I'm going to reemphasize this. If you have friends that are already well connected and you're well connected, then those are definitely people that you want to keep. But we're talking about if you're basically completely revamping your game and you're like, okay, I am a very different person now in the sense, well, not necessarily a very different person, but I have
goals.
Very different goals.
With bigger goals, I mean, you're going to naturally progress.
Right.
I mean, that's just what it is.
And in order to progress, you have to have people alongside you.
Yeah.
You are an average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with.
Thank you for saying that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So, okay, so the first thing you said, you have to be perceived as
the
expert in the market.
Yeah.
So let me touch base a little bit more on that too, and something that I did as a realtor. What I did was I blogged a lot about certain things that were relevant to me and my niche. So again, I was the Opera Realtor. So I talked about luxury homes. I liked to blog about luxury homes and homes that I like to see in Windermere in that area because it is more of a luxury area. And so what I did was I made it a point to always basically let people know that. And so, again, that was the perception. Even though at the time I didn't necessarily know a lot about Windermere, I bought into the Zillow zip codes into Baldwin Park, which is a more affluent area. Yeah. And again,
100%.
100% impressions, because if I was going to do it, you should go all the way. So I wanted to be perceived as it. And the only way that sometimes you have to push yourself to be perceived, the only way to do that is to go all in and then say, okay, well, I'll figure that shit out once I get there. And then you start going in and, okay, you start to walk the neighborhood to understand the market. What are the local events that are going on over there? Talk about it, blog about it, put it on Instagram and all that.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say if you want to have a wealthy mindset? I mean, if you want to be wealthy, obviously it's going to affect you mentally, or you want it to. You have to kind of retrain your brain if you're not used to thinking that way. So what do you have to do?
So the next thing is you must train your mind to become a top performer.
Okay.
And that is, especially as a realtor, mandatory. Now, there is always the outlier. There is always that person that just is naturally confident and they don't have to do shit. They just wake up and bam. Mm-hmm. But for most of us, myself included, that's not the case. So in order to become a wealthy realtor and create wealth as a realtor, you have to train your mind constantly. And you do that by affirmations, whatever it is, writing your goals out every day, reading them out loud, and really retraining your mind to become a top performer. So if you're constantly telling yourself, I just want a little bit of money. I just maybe want one or two
clothes. I want
clothes.
Just enough to get by. You're like,
well, little old me, that's crap. You're not gonna create wealth doing that. You have to have the mindset, and you have to train your mind to believe that you are the shit. You're the tits, and no matter what, you're going to succeed. Yeah,
you're not serving anyone, guys. No matter what anyone tells you, think realistically. Life is a journey, not a destination. Blah, blah, blah. All of that. No.
It's bullshit.
It is complete bullshit.
It's not bullshit if that's what you're going for. If you're like...
But if you're
like a Zen guy, and that's your lifestyle, that's cool. But
if you're going for wealth and you're like, okay, you know what?
You got to be more cutthroat.
Obviously, the reason why you got into real estate wasn't just to make $200 a month. You did not fight to get your real estate license to, help people rent homes. And
Nope.
there's nothing wrong with rentals, but that's what property management companies are for.
Which is a great passive income opportunity.
Yes, if that's what you're into.
Yeah.
But as a residential real estate professional, you are here to sell homes, whether you're the listing agent or the buyer's agent. And so you need to have a wealthy mentality. I mean, it's very simple.
Yep. And like I said, you need to train your mind to do that.
Right.
So that is affirmations, meaning, let me just give you an example. Some of my affirmations are, I have a winning mentality. I have a winning mindset. I have a very powerful mind. These are all things I tell myself every day. I don't remember the rest because I haven't memorized them, but I read them.
What are some other times that you use those affirmations? Like, for instance, before you cold call, are those things that you tell yourself?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I have a stage fright fear. Also picking up the phone, but I force myself to do it. Like,
right.
I don't like to do that. That's not my thing. It's not a lot of people's things. It's terrifying. But I have this site. Yeah, of course. But that's what you have to do to create wealth. So I'll just repeat 100 times. I love cold calling. I'm an amazing cold caller. Whatever I do is golden. And I'll just, if it's a specific thing that I'm doing that day that I'm really uncomfortable with,
you do your affirmations.
Yeah, I'll create an affirmation just around that. Like when I was working at Valencia College, I used to teach math, and I hated public speaking at first, and I still don't like it, but I do it. And
you had to do it a lot.
I had to get in front and teach the class. And my first day, I was so nervous, and pretty much, and what I said to myself, like all night and all the next morning was, I love public speaking. I'm a great public speaker. I'm phenomenal. So I started to seep that into my subconscious, and that helps. And then next thing you know, you start acting those things out.
You know what's funny, guys? Even though Drew's saying this, that he has a huge fear of public speaking, and I think a lot of people, like you said, has that issue, but I think it's funny because you're so good when you talk to people.
Me? Oh, yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, it's ridiculous because I could sit there and tell someone something for 10 minutes and say, but why don't you get this? You should just, I've explained it very well, but then he'll come in and say 10 seconds of something and the light bulb goes off every time. So it's really funny because I love public speaking, but I kind of go off on a tangent. So those are some of the things that you'll see as a real estate agent. Like, you try to really explain to somebody a concept, or so just trying to get, let's say, a buyer to understand why it's probably not the best idea to try to go $7,000 below the list price. And then sometimes when you're trying to explain it to them, depending on the person you're working with, they can be really aggressive. So then you feel like you can't just speak up and say something, even when it's one person. But your affirmations are going to help you with that, because instead of saying, okay, well, they seem like they know a lot, because a lot of people walk around acting like they know a lot, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. But remember, you are the one who needs to be perceived as the authority. So everyone has their own perception that they're walking with all the time. But remember, you're the one getting paid to be the authority, and so your affirmations have to follow suit. So, yeah, for sure. I can see why that would happen.
Train that mother effing mind.
All right, so then what would you say as far as, okay, we talked about the mind, we talked about the affirmations, and we talked about all of that, and then the perception of it and what you need to give up. But what about when someone comes face to face with you? Like, what do you need to be perceived as visually?
Okay, so basically what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to redesign your lifestyle, especially as a realtor.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have to redesign your lifestyle, or at least redesign your perceived lifestyle in public.
Right.
Behind the scenes, if you're still doing the same thing, I don't suggest it, but publicly, things need to look different. So, what I mean by that, your clothes, if you dress like a bum, you're not going to sell houses. You need to look on point all the time. You need to look put together. Suit, tie, nice shoes, nice watch, nice car. Constantly. That shit doesn't stop.
Right.
People are going to look at you. you're going to be driving your Mercedes, maybe your Ferrari, and they're like, what do you do? Well, I'm a realtor.
Yeah.
And then that naturally starts the conversation of, oh, wow, well, you must be doing good for yourself, buddy.
Right.
And you're going to get clients just based on that.
Okay, I need to actually say something
go ahead,
right here. Okay, guys, listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be very honest with you. When I started in real estate, I was driving a 2001 Hyundai Santa Fe. And
with expired tags.
Yeah, I was about to say, sometimes oftentimes than
6
not.
months was expired.
No, I think it was more than that. The tags were expired on my car, and you know what we did? We got a subscription car wash anyway. We shined the wheels. We made the inside look as nice as we could.
We borrowed mommy's BMW when we could.
And that's what I was about to say. So this is the thing. When I had more high-end clients, this is exactly what I did. And I cannot...
We rented cars when we had to.
Even still...
Just for the showings.
I can't believe that this worked the way that it did and that we actually pulled it off. But I actually... borrowed my mother's car, and she is a real estate professional as well, so she knew she had a BMW. I borrowed my dad's car. I borrowed, I rented a car. I did whatever I had to do, and perception is everything. And so I'm not saying that you are always going to be in the position to be able to do that. So when you can't, then just make your car look as nice as possible, because I will tell you, sometimes...
Or don't let them see the freaking car. Like you used to do.
Oh, and sometimes, listen, when I bought into Baldwin Park, for instance, and I was in Zillow over there, I got a lot of calls last minute, so it's not like I could say, hey, can I borrow your car? Hey, can I borrow your car? So this is what I did, guys. Baldwin Park is not that big of a place, but it's big enough where you need a car. Still, what I did is I had Drew drop me off, and I walked around the neighborhood, and because I had to get to know the area anyway a little more than I did, and I had 3 impromptu calls while I was walking the neighborhood one day on a showing, and they said...
With heels.
With heels, yeah. I was in pain by the time I went home, and it was like in freaking May in Orlando. And so I had to walk to the home, and I even had one of my buyers, as embarrassing as it was at the time, say, do you want us to drive you to the next place? But I genuinely wanted, number one, to get to know the area, and then for two, I wasn't about to let them see expired tags on a car. I mean, sometimes you have to do what you have to do.
2001 Hyundai Santa Fe.
Right.
Which we don't drive anymore.
Yeah, thankfully.
We're driving a Barth.
Yeah, but still, it was pretty tough, and again, you don't let those circumstances bother you. So again, even if you have no opportunity to borrow somebody else's car or use someone else's rental car, it doesn't matter. Just make sure that what you have going for you is really nice and well put together. No matter what it is, go out in style as best as you can.
Well, I mean... So that's when you're starting. If you have an average car.
Yeah, that was the first year.
If you have a Honda, a Toyota, a whatever it is, upgrade as soon as you can. Get a BMW, get a Mercedes, get a Ferrari. Whatever it is needs to be upgraded so that you are perceived as successful all the fucking time.
And before you upgrade, again, I don't want to oust anybody because, again, we're talking about something that we weren't able to do in the beginning as well. And before you can, just make sure that you just keep up with everything appearances very nicely to the best of your ability. So even when your car may not be in the best shape, get it cleaned.
Yep.
It's really not that much money to join a subscription car wash. Like, really anywhere. We're in Virginia right now, and they have subscription car washes everywhere for our car.
And this is not Florida.
And Florida is more about image. Yeah, exactly. Florida is more about image than Virginia is, and they still have subscription car washes. But again, also, you want to wear for women, okay, ladies, wear a nice outfit. If you're in Florida, in the summertime, you can adorn yourself with the most gorgeous jewelry for very inexpensively. Again, we're talking about a lot of new agents. So in the beginning, wear makeup. Do not feel like, well, it's not a big deal because I've seen this client 2-3 times. Listen, I don't care. Go out, make yourself look as nice as possible. And I'm not saying you have to be completely decked out for somebody you've shown 20 homes, but you do want to always look presentable. You want to act as if a camera is on you at all times as an agent.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So
perception is a lot.
So basically, don't look like a bum at all.
Don't be a bum, guys. Don't be a bum.
Don't be a bum.
Don't be a bum.
Okay.
And you know what? Actually, I want to point out one thing. I went to a showing one time and I looked like a complete bum, and my excuse was I have a cold. It's January. The Super Bowl was about to happen, so I was really trying to get home. I remember this, and oh my goodness. And guess what happened? I lost that client. Now, can I say that I can trace it back to the fact that I looked like a bum? I'm going to be honest with you. I think it was that. It could have been anything. It could have been the fact that I was kind of out of it at the time because, again, I had a cold, but I showed up anyway, which is good. You show up no matter what, but I could have showed up better than I did. And I'm being very honest. We all have those times as an agent. But I did lose that client literally the very next day. And so perception really does do a lot. I don't care how many people say, yeah, well, image isn't everything. Okay, well, then you're in the wrong line of business because image is a lot when it comes to real estate.
You are in the wrong line of business. Yes. Be vain in this business.
Yes.
Okay. So, ask me a question.
So, what would be another way? And yes, we are still talking about wealth. So, what would be one of the habits that you need to adapt to have a wealthy mindset to create wealth as a real estate agent?
I would say the biggest thing is, so a lot of people that come into real estate, and this is not everybody, but a lot of people that do come into real estate, they come to make money.
Right.
Okay. And usually they come to make money because they didn't have any money before. So when they come into this business to make money, they have to change their relationship to money. And you know me, I grew up poor.
I love that.
My mom is part Asian, and very stereotypical Asian lady. Hey.
They save everything, listen, every jar.
Yeah. So
every
I came from that background. So a little. And
when I say they, I mean Drew's family. So I'm not talking.
She's
about
talking about the Asians out there.
I'm talking about Drew's mother.
Yeah, she's racist.
Stop.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, no, she saves.
No,
everything.
but like stereotyping. My grandmother, she was around during World War II in Hawaii. Asian lady, didn't have a lot. Brought up to be very frugal. So I was brought up that way.
Right.
And if you remember when I was investing, that actually kind of screwed me up because I didn't have the relationship to money that I needed to have.
Right.
So my thing is you have to change your relationship to money. So I remember at first when I started out, I had like my first deal was like $50,000. And I went from, having $500 in the bank account every other week.
Right.
To $50,000 in my bank
sitting
account.
in the bank.
Yeah, and I felt guilty. I felt guilty about it. Am I worthy? Oh, why do I have all this money? All these really ridiculous things.
And guys, believe me, this is going to happen to you because you're going to have closings where all of a sudden you have $15,000 sitting in your bank account that you may, and you may not. Well, you had 50, but I'm saying like you may have. Whatever the amount.
A better example.
Fine. You have. So let's say you sell a $2 million home. You have $60,000 sitting in your bank account. You might end up in the same kind of boat that Drew did, where you feel like, should I have this much money sitting in my account?
Shouldn't I be helping out the poor?
Shouldn't I be helping my family because they really need it? Guys, listen. Change your relationship with money. You said it so perfectly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. You have to change your relationship to money and how you relate yourself.
So how do you do that, right? Affirmations, kind of what we touched about earlier.
Knowing that you're worthy of
knowing that you're worthy. And if you don't believe it, guess what? You better write that affirmation down and start telling yourself you're worthy of this.
Yes.
And listen, you can't change the world working a 9-to-5. You can't change the world or affect people around you if you're broke. It is what it is. I mean, maybe you can change their vibrations a little bit, maybe make them happy for a second, maybe you're a good ear to talk to, but when it gets down to the meat and bones of things, you can't go buy them a house, you can't get them a new car if you need to, you can't help them pay their medical bills.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that you can't change the world working a 9-to-5, but not with the money that you are producing as a result.
Gandhi did pretty good.
And he had nothing.
But yeah, exactly. But we're talking about the majority here.
Yeah.
And unless
the thing is, I mean, I think the biggest point, and I'm Mrs. PC to a certain extent, but I mean, I think the biggest thing is that when you have that money and it does come in, and yes, it will come in, and you'll be amazed once you get it, especially the first time. I mean, I remember the first time I had my huge check. I did have to relate myself in a different way, but thankfully, you and I, the fact that we have a mastermind, and that's actually a good podcast we should talk about on another podcast, but we had each other to bounce it off of one another when I started to get a little bit too down the rabbit hole of, should I be doing this? Am I worthy? You're like, listen, look at what we're doing to create this. And guys, this is going to happen to you. You're going to get a huge check, and you're like, oh, shit.
Should I upgrade my car to BMW?
Am I worth that?
Yeah. Why? I mean, isn't my $20,000 spent better elsewhere? Those are all the questions you're going to have.
What is everybody going to say? Isn't my mother going to say, you should have spent that on XYZ because you needed that? Yeah. And that's actually for another podcast, too, about what other people say about it. You have to build your relationship around money for you and what's going to serve you. And yes, that means you have to be, in a sense, you have to be a lot more selfish with what you do before pleasing everybody else around you.
Yep. And you got to look the part before you can be the part.
Oh, isn't that the truth?
Yep.
It doesn't really take that much money to do it, too. I mean, as a real estate agent...
And $20,000 you're going to come to realize isn't that much money in this game. Like,
yes.
You're going to be like, oh my God, $20,000, I could do whatever it is you could do in the past. And you're going to realize, well, that's not that much money because I got to invest X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And I'm left with this. Okay, let's talk 100,000. Let's talk 200,000. Let's talk $1 million.
It's at this point that I want to say something very important and make this really clear to people. Right around this time, you're going to be telling yourself, again, we kind of touched on it before, success, life is a journey. It's not a destination. It's not all about the money. Success isn't everything. Blah, blah, blah. All those things that you're telling yourself. But guys, listen. You did not get into real estate because you want to struggle. Very simple. You didn't get into this because you want to struggle.
You got this to get out of the fucking struggle.
Exactly. You got into real estate. I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you got into this because you wanted to get out of the rat race. You wanted to do things your way on your terms. And that's exactly why we did it. That's why Drew became an investor when he did. That's why I became a real estate sales agent instead of a property manager, because that's the route I was heading when I graduated college, property management. And I said, you know what? I would rather work for myself than work making someone else money, even though I was making a salary or passive income or what have you. So I'm betting on the fact that most of you listening got into this because you wanted more for yourself and you wanted to be able to control what that more looks like. Mm-hmm. So what we're telling you, as much as it may not necessarily register with you right now, or maybe it does, maybe even a little bit of it.
Maybe you're offended.
That's what I was about to say. Maybe even a little bit offended. We're telling you things that, come on, deep down inside, you know it's true.
Or you will.
Or you will, especially if you keep practicing real estate. Yeah. So just know that we're telling you this from personal experience and from the experiences we've seen from a lot of people. We have a lot of years of seeing this happen over and over again, as far as not creating wealth for yourself and why you weren't, and then how to make it.
Yeah. And let's be real, who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to the rich guy, or you're going to listen to the poor guy?
Yeah, you're going to listen to the people that have done the trial and error and now have succeeded as a result and have successfully created a brokerage that has money coming in.
Or you're going to listen to that person still struggling with the mortgage payments, still struggling with their car payment, but don't change their habits, don't change their lifestyle, don't change anything.
Yeah, don't listen to people out of obligation. Listen to them because they're actually showing, well, the proof is in the pudding. So it's really simple. It's that simple. You like it or you love it, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. This is when people start saying, yeah, but, and it starts to kind of not just reprogram your beliefs, but kind of offend your current beliefs, because some of this that we're saying, it might offend some of the things that you already have established in your mind.
Well, good. Should
and that's why we're doing this. We want it to. We want you to rethink what you're currently doing every day. What do you do when you wake up? Do you do affirmations? Do you look at yourself and say, I want to look like this tomorrow when I wake up? I want to wear this and I want to present myself like this.
80 pounds overweight every day?
Right.
How about the cake for breakfast?
And that's another thing. Getting your mind right has a lot to do with your body. And so having a success consciousness requires getting in the gym, feeling really good physically so you can feel good mentally. So, okay, let's go ahead and I digress. Let's move along to the next thing.
Change your relationship with money.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, what would you say, because I mean, as an entrepreneur in general, but as a real estate agent, what is something that you find if you want to create a wealthy lifestyle, wealthy mentality, it's not always going to be wealthy. So what if you are failing at transactions over and over and over again, and you start to just say, what is going on?
Okay.
What do you do then?
Well, I'm glad you said that. So, well, you need to be okay with failing.
Okay.
Because failing, that's the stepping stones to success.
Yeah.
The road to success is always under construction.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, you're always fucking failing. Okay. How many times have we failed this past week? Let me give you guys a little backdrop. So, we're starting Follow Me Realty, right? And we've talked to many investors.
Board of directors.
Dee's constantly going out pitching our idea. A lot of people look at us like we're fucking crazy.
Actually, I want to just say a little snippet about that. So yesterday, for anybody who's kind of followed us from the beginning, we are constantly pitching our idea. It's very new. Follow Me Realty is a really new concept for most people because we're not pitching to buyers and sellers. We're pitching to agents so that way you can be the best damn agents you can be to your buyers and sellers. So we're more of like consulting firms. So I did a pitch with a company or with an organization to basically explain what we're about. And by the end of it, I felt like I had failed. And honestly, I did because I didn't I clearly didn't sell them enough to believe in what we were doing. And that was really discouraging in the beginning. But you're going to have that. Like, you can't have those successes without the failures. But it fucking hurt. And it pissed me off, too, that they didn't just get it. Because for me, it's so clear. But, you know, for people who have never heard, hey, we're a real estate brokerage for agents and not for the buyers and sellers, it was a new concept. And it offended a lot of people. So in a sense, again, I feel like I failed our mission, our pitch, our overall concept.
So you have to be okay with failing. Mm-hmm. As a new realtor, and in order to create wealth, you're going to fail a lot.
You can't eat olives while you're doing the podcast.
Sorry. So you're gonna fail a lot. You're gonna have closings that don't close. You're gonna have people that leave you. Mm-hmm. As far as your clients go, you're gonna have contracts that fall through. You're gonna have
buyers who go see a house right underneath you and never tell you, and then put a contract on with another agent
the next day.
The same day.
Even worse.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're cold calling, you're going to have people that, you know, you're going to find that as a realtor and as homeowners, they're very entitled. They think their piece of property is just the shit. And you realtors, all you want's money.
Yeah.
What are you doing with $6,000? So it's like they almost get offended that they're giving you a $6,000 check for you to do their job. So that all comes with the territory, and with that comes failure. Mm-hmm. So you're going to call 100 people. You might get through to 5. You might get through to 1.
But keep in mind, for those 3 that you get through to, you're going to have 5 other people who say, just to let you know, when you called, you omitted this word, or when you sent that email, you mistyped, and that happens to us too.
Yes.
So happened today.
Yeah, exactly.
So it happens.
So be okay with failing. Be okay with morons, because they're everywhere, and doofuses are everywhere. So you're going to get those people, even though you know what you're doing, you're on your path to success. You're trying to better yourself, your family, your economy, whatever it is. You're going to have people that are going to constantly stop you. And just know this, when you start failing, you're very close to success. Very close.
Yes.
When people start saying stupid shit to you, and they start mocking you, and it may feel like there's no way out and you're not going to progress, you are so close to success. You don't stop there. You keep going until you burst through that, and then on the other right on the other side of all that criticism and failure is a successful moment, a closing, some form of success.
Or somebody's going to call you and they want to list their $1 million home.
Which happened. And we recently we were reaching out to a lot of investors to keep this to keep our
I mean, because we're a new real estate brokerage, and again, we're a brand new concept, so it's not like we're doing a lot like a mom and pop real estate brokerage where we're like, hey, we're open for business, getting agent by agent. What we have to do, although it's such a phenomenal concept, it does require time and it requires money and capital.
Yeah.
And so in order to do that, we had to reach out to tons and tons and tons.
We reached out to over 150 investors. People laughed in our face.
Talked to over 150
Yeah.
people that said, well, what's your evaluation? Blah, blah, blah. What is this? What is that?
You ever watched Shark Tank? So we did that like 150 times.
Well, and I will be honest with you, Shark Tank is nothing compared to what we just went through. And the thing is, again, you're going to get those things and it's going to feel like failures. It's going to feel like a whole bunch of fails back to back to back to back to back. But it only takes one for you to say, you know what, it works.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, we contacted over 150 either angel investors, venture capitalists, pitched them our idea about Follow Me Realty so we could grow and expand. A lot of them laughed at us. Some of them said not interested.
And a few did respond.
Some of them were very pretentious and said you guys are, smoking crack. But guess what? We hit that one and boom. He's like, hey, I like your guys' idea. And boom.
And ever since then, what's really good is we've actually talked to a few since then who are very interested in what Follow Me Realty has to offer and willing to invest. So that's really good. So again, we're telling you on our standpoint.
About failures and
yeah, but again, as a real estate agent, you're going to run into that yourself from, every facet. No matter what industry you're in, you're going to run into fails. But you have to be used to or get comfortable with failing, because the more fails that you have under your belt, the more successes you say that you can have in the future. And then actually sometimes that success that comes as a result is going to come from a place you probably didn't even think was going to come from there. So just keep that in mind.
Be okay with failing and know that with every 100 fails, there's a success right around the corner.
Exactly. Okay. So here's one thing. If you want to be a wealthy real estate agent and have a successful career, you have to be willing to put in not just your time and your energy and your effort, but you also have to be willing to put in, like we were talking about, capital, your own money.
Yep.
So
invest in yourself.
Invest in yourself. Okay, so what does that look like? What would you say that we've had to do? Like, what do you have to do?
So we've touched on this, a few times already, but you have to be willing to invest. So clothes, cars, possibly a house, location,
Zillow. Like you have to be willing to do all of that.
Marketing, more marketing, advertisement, new car, new suits. The list really goes on and on. But if you're not willing to invest, you're not going to make it in this game.
Right.
And you have to invest in yourself. So if you're looking at a 3-piece suit and you're like, wow, that's going to cost me $500, you've lost. If you're looking at Zillow and you're like, you know what, this zip code I really like, my market's in here, but man, that's kind of expensive to get 100% impressions. You've already lost. You have to be willing to invest and invest all the time, because when you start investing, guess what happens? You invest $20,000, guess what happens?
Your ROI,
you get $60,000 back.
Right.
You invest zero, you start to die. You start to go away.
So this comes back around to two things. It comes back around to your mindset.
Yeah.
And how you relate to yourself to money.
Yeah.
Because you do have to understand that you must be willing to invest not only in yourself but your business. This is a business, guys. When you become a real estate agent, you are an independent contractor. You are. So even if you have a corporation or an LLC, which is fantastic, as a real estate agent, you can actually form an LLC, a corporation, and still be an agent. Either way, you are in business for yourself, and if you create a team, then you have a business that you're running. Either way, again, you are creating your own business. So you need to run your business like a business, and a business requires capital. And even if you don't have the capital in the very beginning, you still have to have the mindset to say, okay, yes, I need to invest in myself, and I need to invest in what I'm doing. And as a real estate agent, what does that look like? Okay, you have to have the clothes, like you said, have the car, or again, at least making sure that you're keeping up with appearances to the best of your ability.
Well, I mean, when you have the money, you pay for that car. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
if you
just
have the money,
line.
you pay for it. And guys, listen, stop trying to beat around the bush and say, I don't need to pay for Zillow. If you have the money to do it, you better fucking be paying for Zillow.
Bottom line.
Period. There's nothing around
investing
it.
in proper technology.
Yeah, exactly.
Proper automation tools, an assistant. I mean, really, the list goes on.
And you know what the really cool thing is for a lot of real estate agents or people that are in the real estate industry, they understand, like home inspectors, transaction coordinators, they understand that if you don't get paid, they don't get paid. So what's awesome is you can have people and ally yourself with people who will help you create that perception without actually paying them in the beginning. So that's what's really awesome. So transaction coordinators, for instance, they charge anywhere from like $300 to $400 to help you prepare like a listing or do contract to close on a buyer's end.
Yeah.
They don't get paid if you don't get paid. And most of them have that mutual understanding with you to say, okay. And then also they get paid at the closing table. So having a transaction coordinator helps you create that air of perception as well.
Yep.
Because they're able to help you schedule all the schedule all of the everything, schedule the inspection, make sure that you have all the right addenda there, everything you need, they're there to help you.
Yep.
So, I mean, just know that you have capital at your fingertips without actually having to pay for that capital yourself. You have people to help you invest in yourself and in your business.
So, bottom line.
You have to be willing to
invest.
And I know we touched a little bit on this, but I know you had mentioned before the bottom line is you really have to treat yourself like a business.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess that would be my last thing onto how to create wealth as a realtor. Is you must treat it like a business. Why? Because it is a business.
Mm-hmm.
You're not working 9 to 5. You're not going to Tuffy and changing some tires. You're not going to Walmart and leaving at 5 p.m. It's a business. You are the entity. You can make it as big or as small as you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that mindset like you are a business, then you're not going to make any serious money in this game. That's just the bottom line.
Right.
So you must always treat it like a business because it is a business, and that's kind of what we were founded about.
And that's the thing, like your brand is your business. So if you are the Opera Realtor, you are the Opera Realtor. It's plain and simple. That's your business. That's your brand. That's what you stand for.
Yep.
And so what does that mean? It means that you run a business that people are going to be interested in whatever you are putting out. Now, for those who aren't interested in it, that's why you take massive amounts of action, because that helps you weed out who's not for you, who you're not for, so vice versa, and get to your people. It's a numbers game, guys. And so you have to treat your business like a business, because every business is not for everyone. I don't shop at Walmart. I'd rather go to Target any day. I'd rather go to Trader Joe's any day. But they have found their niche. Walmart has. Same thing as a real estate agent. You got to find your niche, find your people. So you have to treat your business like a business and reach out everywhere you can until you find your business, your clientele, your people. Yeah.
Like a buzziness. And let me
Buzziness.
let me elaborate on that. So, okay, let's say you're with Follow Me Realty, right? And your name is the Ostrich Realtor. And that's your niche. Mm-hmm. You're great with ostriches. You own an ostrich farm. Mm-hmm. You sell ostrich farms in Australia, whatever. Like, really, who gives a fuck about Follow Me Realty? Right. Like, you are the Ostrich Realtor. You could leave us or leave Remax,
and
or
you
leave
could still
whoever.
use the same brand.
Yes, like that's the thing. It's like we're here, Remax, KW, whoever, just to hang your license. You are the entity, not me, not you, not Remax. You are. So that's why it's so important to treat yourself as a business and not as a little mom and pop, because you're not. You can make it as big or as small as you want to. There's realtors out there making millions of dollars as realtors.
I had somebody ask me the other day, we've been talking to a lot of agents in the last, like, even 3 days. It's been really crazy. And one of the things that one of the agents asked me was, okay, so I noticed, like, if you go to Coldwell Banker, if you go to Keller Williams, Remax, their front page is, here are the homes for sale, click here, and you type in your city or zip code or what have
exactly.
you. And they're like, but I noticed when I go to Follow Me Realty, that's not the case. You guys are really branded for agents. And we're like, well, yeah. And this is why. Exactly what Drew is just talking about. We want you to brand you. So when people work with you, they're not working with you because they're like, oh my gosh, that's a Follow Me Realty agent. They're so amazing. Now, do we want people to say that we're amazing? Of course we do.
Yeah.
Of course we do. Of course we want, but the thing is we want it to reflect that because of the fact that our agents are so awesome. And that's why we teach what we teach as far as like the social media, the online presence, the credibility, the prestige. But when you are, and I'm going to give this example again, we've talked about Brandon before, Simplify Home Guy. When he decides, you know what, I want to go ahead and switch over to, let's say, in Virginia, for instance, there's Long and Foster. I want to go to Long and Foster and see what they have to offer. They have this really awesome bullpen there. It's a physical location. Guess what, guys? He has branded himself Simplify Home Guy. So
no one gives a fuck about Follow Me Realty.
Exactly, and we don't want them to because we didn't get into this to say we really want to be this really big brand that everyone knows us and says, well, I trust this agent because they're with Follow Me Realty. No, we want it to reflect that we're awesome because our agents are awesome. So no matter where they go, they still remember the agent.
Yep.
So branding is everything, and you have to really treat yourself like your own business because you didn't get into it to say, ever since I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a Keller Williams agent. No. And it shouldn't be your goal. It should be because I wanted to be really badass at what I do.
Hey, ditto.
Yeah.
Kudos.
So that's it.
That's it.
So this is how you create your own wealth in real estate. It goes far beyond the dollar signs, although the dollar signs, of course, is the end goal. It has to do with how you carry yourself and what you implement in real estate.
Yep. What you do now creates what happens in the future.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you have enjoyed this podcast, and we will be back soon to tell you more about our knowledge. Thank you. Dropping some knowledge.
Hasta luego.